This is another episode of Fuck Ups and Success. Today we have Liana Cremona with us, a very, very interesting woman with very high-level experience inside different companies. Welcome, Liana, to the studio.
Thanks, thank you. I'm really happy to be here with you, Luca.
Yeah, me too, actually. We have a different story to any of my previous guests with actually how we met.
Yes.
Just to sum it up, I'm renting a small garage to you, and that's where we started talking.
Exactly. One of my primary passions, actually, property.
Property? Is it really?
Yes. I mean, I'm obviously like really engaged in operations, but behind the scenes, that feeds my other passion, property. So, yes.
Okay, I didn't know that actually. Yeah. It was interesting negotiating with you for the first time on the phone, and but actually it was one of the first property deals I did. Obviously, it's not my property, but
a very lucrative one for me. So thank you.
Okay, since we have a different start to actually how we met, I thought I'd even start this interview a bit differently, not by asking you questions about you, but asking you questions about me.
Okay, shoot.
So, what is your first impression of me?
Okay, so behind the scenes, look, I was really nervous actually when I was first contacting you, because as I said to me, it was a really lucrative property, and of course I understand that it makes sense to you from the type of properties that I have. So yes, behind the scenes I was really nervous. I knew how badly I wanted to close on this negotiation with you. At the same time, I had never met. We were engaging viewers through WhatsApp at the time. No, but you come across as being a really genuine person, very approachable. And of course, in the meantime, in the past few months that we've had this understanding between us, when I did come across a problem, you're also very professional and came to it straight away. So thank you.
Yeah, it's one thing I hate is complaints, and when I do see a complaint, I like to fix it and turn it into a positive. That's something that I try to do at least. So these kind of interviews, I think it's the second time you're doing something like this.
I've had a few, and I have one more lined up after this. So some are, well, they're I suppose, around my actual role. The previous one I held as CEO at GoTo, and the current one that I hold at Recruit Giant. But yes, people tend to ask like personal questions, and how did you come to this? Where do you see yourself going as well?
Do you see them as an important way to brand yourself? Or?
Yes, I'm not really sure what brand Liana is, but I hope that whatever message I'm conveying, it comes across to empower people and support people on their journey, with the message to never give up.
Okay, so it's more of a give back kind of feeling you take to it.
Yes, because it was quite a challenge to get to where I am today, but it's certainly achievable. If I can do it, anyone can. So,
are there any particular podcasts or YouTubers that you might have followed?
Not quite YouTubers, but I do follow Simon Sinek really closely.
Oh, that's excellent.
And Sheryl Sandberg, because she holds a huge role, I mean, at Facebook, but she has good tips too.
Before we move into questions about you, a few weeks back you posted a very inspiring story about your brother. Would you like to tell us about it?
Yes. So I was about 6 years old when my brother had taken ill, and he had leukemia. He was 4 years old. And for most of my childhood, we just seemed to be like in and out of hospital, traveling overseas as well, to the UK, at very short notice at times, to try and find cure. And now, okay, so we're talking about many years ago, so science wasn't what it is today. So I'm sure the cure then is different to what you have now, whereas nowadays you can take certain treatment by not being a full-time patient in hospital. You can take treatment outside of hospital as well. But I think what it taught both my brother and I, who today is a cancer survivor, is endurance. And my brother since then has taken on many sporting challenges. So he had done the life cycle when he was just about eligible to sign up for it. He cycled the Nordic Circle. He did Kilimanjaro also. But I think the one that stands out the most is when he broke the Guinness Book of Records. And he broke 3 world records together with his crew, one of them that still stands today, which is the fastest crossing across the Atlantic from Morocco to Barbados, which he achieved in 33 days. So I'm ever so proud of him. And I think having such a strong-willed family member really helped me as well when I faced my own medical challenges. So this is not maybe something that most people know about me, but 3 years ago, on the 10th of February, I was in a freak snowboarding accident in which my teleski got stuck and catapulted me over a story in the air, just under 2 stories. And I had severe injuries to my back. In fact, I damaged 9 discs and my pelvis is crooked. I'm a crooked person, actually.
You're not a crooked person.
But,
maybe your spine could be crooked, but you're not a crooked person.
Not now, but at the time, when I was speaking to the orthopedic surgeon, I was told that I would likely not walk or definitely feel this pain for 24 months. And I think it seemed all doom and gloom for the first 2 to 3 weeks. But then once again, like having faced such challenging times, your endurance kicks in, very strong-willed character, and thankfully within approximately 8 weeks, I was back on the office. Crutches, neck brace, and back brace, but thanks to a heck of a lot of physiotherapy, I'm really proud of what I was able to achieve.
No, I think you just mentioned 2 quite life-changing experiences, and you used the word endurance to kind of describe how you get past them and the kind of stamina you build. That I guess you can apply in other areas of your life.
Yes, because it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and that's that I find that is very much a thing with most things in life. I mean, this pandemic as well. You know, we're in it for the long haul.
Yeah,
so
it has been a marathon so far, and we've still got some way to go.
Yeah.
Your previous experience with GoTo car it's quite a technology-driven company.
Yes.
I'm wondering, what is your relationship like with technology?
Okay, truth be told, when I started off at GoTo, I was quite a mum when it comes to technology. I'm not trying to label other mums out there, but quite typically, when you are a mum, you might not keep up so much with most tech, which is changing almost on a per hour basis. But having been thrown in the deep end with GoTo, I had to learn the ropes, and I had to learn really quickly because we were a startup and change needed to be implemented, workflows needed to be optimized. And I'm very proud that together with my team at the time, we were able to ask the tech team to develop certain things within the app, back office and the customer app, that would enhance the experience, both for the customer and behind the scenes for us as a team. So now that I'm working with Recruit Giant, I work with a tech platform as well. So that's really, really helped me. And I hope that it will continue to do so in my career.
Okay, so it seems like you do like the space. But you started your career in London. You think it's important for anybody to get experience outside of our island?
Definitely. Please expand. Spread your wings and
Anything
go outside.
struck you when you were over there?
I think... So I was about 13 years old, actually, when I had told my parents that when I was 18, I wanted to leave home and spread my wings. I didn't think that my first experience would have been overseas. At the time, I was studying tourism, and that was actually part of the course. I then extended my stay in London just because I was enjoying it so much. But once again, you're thrown in the deep end, so you're away from your family's comfort. You have to do everything for yourself, find your own accommodation. At the time, I had also found my own job. I had sent about 80 CVs to the UK. But in terms of the experience itself, working overseas, definitely it was my first real multicultural experience, working with an array of diverse people. Whilst also fending for myself. So yes, my children are 15 and 11, and they know they will have to go overseas for a period of time. Now, whether it's 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, that will be largely up to them. But it's they will gain an experience that is not possible on this 16 by 25 kilometer rock.
I see a lot of Maltese entrepreneurs and CEOs and executives with an events background. Why do you think this is?
Okay, from my experience, at least working in such a high-paced and dynamic environment, it's like, working in an event every single day. So when I worked in the MICE industry, so meetings, incentives, conferences and events, you don't really have a start time and end time. Whilst the client is in Malta from overseas, you are at their beck and call on practically 24/7 basis. And when you are working with huge teams and maybe even a startup environment, you're constantly changing, you're constantly adapting to the needs. So that has certainly helped me in my current role and the previous one also. So
you're often touted as a great people person. I see it by your team members, at least publicly. What do you think gives you this ability to deal with people?
I'm really passionate about people, and I have a sincere love for people. So for those who've worked with me on a more like close and intimate basis, they would understand that, my want to be empathetic and guide them doesn't just end in their role or within the 40-hour context. I like to consider these people my friends as part of my family, and I like to extend my help outside of the office environment too. And there's been a number of cases that I never thought I would ever have to experience together with my employees in an out of work context. But I was really happy that we had this bond relationship and trust, actually, more than anything, where they understood that I was just a call away and I could be there for them.
Teams often become a part of family as well. It seems like we're spending so much time together. But as you mentioned, you are a mother. Has that changed anything about your life?
Yes. So I would be considered a young mom, I suppose, because I had my children at the age of 19 and 22. A single mother to both at the time. Yes, it did change my life. However, I tried to remain on my path because I knew that by doing so, I would be able to provide a better life for them. And I always saw them as an extension of me. So in fact, even here behind the scenes, my daughter is here witnessing this, and I hope it also inspires her to take on such leadership roles herself. So don't be discouraged. I think, I see my friends having children now, a bit later than I did. There's never really a right time to start a family. But yes, make them a part of you. Sometimes, I'd be listening to, like even this morning, I was part of a development course, and my children were behind the scenes. So I know that they're taking that in themselves, and I'm sure that would be of an advantage to them in future.
I really enjoy seeing women such as yourself succeeding in this way. Me personally, my mother is an entrepreneur, so I grew up with that as a norm, yes. For me. So I do enjoy seeing as it becoming as an extension. I would admit that growing up, I would think, but why does my mother work? But then obviously it makes more sense yes. Now that these things are more out there and accepted and actually promoted more, because we know we need more of it.
Yeah.
But in the past, throughout your experiences, have you ever experienced burnout or faced some big challenges that were?
Yes.
How did you get past it? What kind of mental procedure do you go through to get rid of a storm in the teacup?
Okay, I certainly have been burnt out at times. However, it's usually rather than maybe just a self problem, it is often a systematic problem as well. So there would be like a bit of a chink in the chain, something that doesn't make sense in the way we're operating at that particular time. So maybe sending priority lists late in the evening with tight deadlines or things of the sort. So burnout, definitely. I'm quite a holistic person. Something I'd love to do is learn how to meditate, because it's not something I managed to do. But deep breathing is definitely something that was taught to me when I was doing my O-levels, actually. It was take a deep breath, count to 10, let it out. And you do that until you're serene once more.
You consider yourself a creative person?
Yes, however, I probably enjoy co-creating more with my team and with my peers. So very often, even though I might be the person who came up with the idea, I like everyone to sort of take ownership of it, because they're able to give that much more into it as well. So yes.
Do you think there's a difference between being a big picture kind of person where you think about the whole vision, or contrary to being a more detail-oriented person?
Okay, so I'm quite a perfectionist, but I try to put that aside. Yes, I'm definitely someone who needs to see the bigger picture and needs to understand the full vision. However, along the way, I've learned just go for it, do it, be a doer. And if you're going to fail fast, so that you learn from the experience and move on to something else.
Were there any particular moments that this fail fast principle actually taught you something?
Yes, I remember at the time our headquarters had asked something of us, and we just said, okay, let's try it, and if it doesn't work, we'll just go back to the drawing board. And we set a week's deadline. We did it, learned from it, and just moved on to find another solution.
Do you look for any particular criteria when you're joining a new company, or?
I think it's really important for me to align with the vision, whatever it is, but also that I align with the cultural environment that they have. And I like to see, like, for example, when you go to an interview, usually we go with the mindset that they are interviewing you, but you're also interviewing them too. You're there and you're witnessing their environment, the way they communicate with you. So that's just as important as being accepted for their own.
Looking back, because we actually often speak about how startups need to have this whole vision of where they want to go. But I guess you can also look at your life as a bit of a startup, or where you develop from one place to the next.
Yeah.
Did you have this vision of where you want to end up? Did you expect it? Did you work towards it?
Okay, so actually, when I was young and I was still studying, I actually wanted to have a restaurant, which is still an operational environment. But once I was in the UK, I realized that's probably not where I wanted to be. And I wanted to move away from the hospitality industry in terms of hotel and restaurant. But then I've always been very open-minded as to what my next challenge was going to be. As long as it was continuous learning. And that's something that I've had, whether I was working in the mice industry, whether I was working in sales, and it all adds up. And then when you end up in a role as COO, you realize how crucial those learning experiences were, and the bad ones as well. So sometimes we find ourselves in really mundane roles, but at the same time, you're learning what you don't want in your career, what you don't want to do when you are in a leadership role, how to conduct yourself better amongst your team. So take on every challenge as a learning experience.
What's your opinion on education? So going through university to reach a career goal versus learning on the job, and how do you learn when you're in a new industry?
Quite honestly, I don't hold a master's or a degree or PhD for that matter. I've learned a lot on the job. I've learned from amazing mentors and coaches. As I said earlier, even just this morning, I actually signed up for a course that I've already done because I thought it would be really good to refresh a leadership development course. Continue learning. Don't keep feeding your mind because that's always going to be useful.
Do you look to books for that, or is there?
Yes. So yes. However, I wish to make more time to read more books. I find that signing up to seminars, like virtual ones at the moment, is good because I might be cooking and just listening in the background. So I just switch off my camera and carry on. And I feel like, or listen to it in the car sometimes. So that's my current main mode of learning. I've signed up to a few courses as well in terms of like occupational psychology. But I try to align it to things that I presently need in that particular role. But still, so going back to your question, it doesn't mean because you haven't gone to university that certain doors will be closed for you. You can still persist and attain your goals. Of course, if this is a certain profession, like a doctor, etc., unlikely.
Yeah. But I feel like you this would be a good question for you. If you had to speak to yourself at 19, at 20, what would you actually say to yourself?
Be more self-assured, be more empowered, and go for it. I think there were certain times in my life where I held back because I didn't have the confidence, or I was told that that wouldn't be possible. And once again, break those boundaries and the glass ceilings and just go for it. Put your mind to it and do it, because you really can manage anything you set your mind to.
It seems like whilst you want to tell yourself that, you did it anyway. Was there any particular influence on you, be it a mentor, be it somebody close to you?
So yes, I suppose I have a fantastic mentor in both my parents, actually, because they've overcome a lot. My father in his professional career, my mother looking after both my brother and I, with us being teenage children, I suppose. However, as I went up the ladder, yes, I do have a professional mentor that I see twice a month and more if needed to. I've also signed up to academies such as Vistage, for example. So you have a professional platform that where you can convey experiences together whilst also learning. And I think that is really, really important because you're exchanging your experiences with people who hold similar roles to you in other companies as well. So you learn from their experiences too.
You think, if I had to ask you, what kind of question would you ask yourself at this point? Would anything come to mind?
I think it would go back to your previous question. It's like, why didn't you believe in yourself more? Like, look what you've managed. So yes, there's a few things that I still want to do in future. So whilst attaining my career, but on the sidelines, as I said before, love and property. So my career definitely helps with that.
Are we going to see Cremona Towers somewhere? Or?
Not yet, no. Sticking up the lines of Cremona petrol stations and ODZs.
Yeah, everybody will love that, I'm sure.
But yes, I think in future I would like to do more to support people and empower people to attain their goals. So it's more of a passion project, actually.
That's a nice one. I think you do an excellent job at that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, that's about all we have time for. That's another episode of Fuck Ups and Success today with Liana Cremona, very inspiring woman, and we hope to see you again next time.